Anyway, reaction now from the senator who's been accusing the president of creating an enemies list today, Lamar Alexander, Tennessee, so the Republican conference chairman. Now, Senator, this would seem to imply something beyond just a political list. What do you make of that?
Well, of course, one, they haven't done it yet, so I can't comment on that. But what I think we should do is, and I offered an amendment to do it, the Democrats beat it, was to give the General Motors and Chrysler stock to all of the Americans who paid taxes on April 15, get it out of the government, declare a stock dividend. Then we wouldn't be having these pay-czars running our companies. I have a visceral reaction against the idea of anybody in Washington telling anybody at any level in the private sector what they ought to make or not make. The market ought to do that. The sooner we get the government out of the private sector, out of running our companies, the better.
Senator, the argument for doing this sort of stuff is that all bets were off with private market talk when these governments had to be taken over and effectively rescued by taxpayers. And once that happened, game changer and new game rules.
There are new game rules, and I think this is just a reminder of what a bad situation it puts us in, which is why I offered the amendment, which we could have already done, which we own 60% of General Motors and Chrysler, who apparently are two of the companies that may be affected by this. We should have declared a stock dividend, give all the stock to the 115 or 20 million Americans who pay taxes on April 15. They paid for it. They should own it. Then we wouldn't need a pay-czar.
All right, well, here's the problem with that idea. It's too smart, it's too clear, and it's too focused, so that was going to go nowhere right from the get-go. But let me ask you this. Today, you're on the floor of the Senate, and you're raising new issues about this administration and how it seems to finger a lot of folks. This is from earlier today.
This behavior is typical of street brawls and political campaign consultants. It's a mistake for the President of the United States and for the White House staff. I want to make what I hope will be a friendly suggestion to President Obama in his White House, and it is this: don't create an enemies list.
Do you think, Senator, he's creating an enemies list?
Well, the reason I made the speech is I would think they're on the same kind of path that the Nixon administration was 40 years ago, when I was a young White House aide in the Nixon administration, that led them toward the enemies list, and I want them to stop before they start. But
who's on the list? I mean, if you suspect that's the case.
It's this business of characterizing anybody who disagrees as an enemy. The United States Chamber of Commerce, according to Politico, the White House wants to neuter them because they object to the health care plan. Fox News is going to boycott Fox News. Calling out senators who complain about czars and refusing to testify, then putting a gag order on one of the largest health care companies who advise their beneficiaries that they might lose their Medicare Advantage benefits, or some of them, if the health care reform bill passed, which is true. The president telling Congress, I'll call you out, telling bondholders, I'm keeping a list if you don't go along with GM and Chrysler. That sounds more like street talk than it does the President of the United States, and I think the President should push all of that out of the White House. Let the political consultant play those games, and he should be President and work with both sides of the aisle in the Congress, which is what he said he wanted to do, and let's solve the big presidential issues.
Senator, always good having you, Senator Lamar Alexander in Washington.